Okay, we're going to have our last community briefing now from Julie Christie, who is based in East Dunbartonshire, which is where we shall be going tomorrow to be doing our mapping and walking activities. So Julie's going to tell you a little bit about the context and a little bit about the work that's been going on in East Dunbartonshire over the last year or so.
Thank you. This is very exciting for East Dunbartonshire to have the last slot of the day and then everybody heading there tomorrow. It doesn't usually happen, so we're looking forward to it. Okay, can everybody hear me all right? Yeah. I have copies of a report that details quite a lot of what the work I'm going to tell you about. It's only 15 minutes, so I'm really just going to give you some headlines, and then if people would like to get back in touch at a later date, then please feel free to do that. So, where is East Dunbartonshire? Well, I've just tried to give directions to it, so probably if you were on the receiving end of them, you probably think I'm not the best person to tell you where it is, but I'll give it a go. That's us there. We're absolutely tiny. One of the smallest councils in Scotland. I was down at the West Midlands a month ago, and they thought we were cute. So I don't know what that means, but they described us as cute. But we're between Glasgow and North Lanarkshire and West Dunbartonshire, so we've got some very big neighbours, but we're trying to make our voice heard amongst that, and we also have a lot of colleagues across each of those councils as well. So our population, quite small in terms of other councils, 105,026. Highest life expectancy in Scotland from the most recent reports that were issued. 21% of our population is over the age of 60, which we see as a great opportunity to capitalise on older people who are contributing to the economy through supporting parents looking after children for them. A lot of our older people also work in our charity shops. They also support the voluntary sector. So it's a real opportunity to have such an ageing population, and that's the message that we really want to get across. In the next 10 years, people aged 75 plus will increase by 71%, so quite a steep rise. So we of course need to be practical and deal with some of the support needs and the health challenges that people may have. We also need to be very flexible about the ways in which people will want those issues to be met, and the way that services are delivered now is absolutely not what people want. And we've had quite a lot of investment in talking to people in their 40s and their 50s about what they see as an appropriate support for continuing to live to a good long age in East Dunbartonshire. And at this present time, we have approximately 2,020 people of all ages who have dementia. And I believe you're going to get some more stats in the next section just to set the scene for tomorrow. So we have a lot of the really great supports that everybody here will be talking about today as well through the other community briefings. We have a well-established dementia network, which the Scottish Dementia Working Group helped to set up and indeed chaired for a number of years for us. We have post-diagnostic support established. We have dementia cafes, a strong network of ambassadors and champions. Dementia advice services are jointly delivered across a range of third sector providers. All of our firefighters are dementia informed, and by the end of the year, every police officer in Kirkintilloch and East Dunbartonshire and surrounding areas, which I think is about 120, will also be dementia informed. So we have a lot going on. What we don't have yet are the building blocks for the very visual dementia-friendly environment. And the reason for that is that we've really been waiting on the Life Changes Trust. So when you visit East Dunbartonshire tomorrow, we are a clean slate in terms of the physical environment, and what we then want to do is use that information in order to take forward the feedback we get about what would work best. Instead, what we have here is what we believe to be the bedrock or the building block of dementia-friendly Eastern Bartonshire, and that is co-production. So we have went down a slightly different route, kind of left of centre. And you will know that co-production is one of the bullet points of the current dementia strategy, and we believe it's the foundation of the dementia strategy. So we think dementia friendly is about people with dementia having a stronger presence in their local communities and their local services. But we also believe it's about enabling people with dementia to make a contribution to the quality of their own life, but also for people with dementia to be able to make an impact on the quality of life of their neighbours and the other people that live in Eastern Bartonshire. So it's about citizen engagement and citizen mobilisation for those people who want to live in that way. It's not for everybody, and we cover some of that. So, point one, co-production is a terrible term, horrible word, nobody likes it. Even the person in charge of co-production in the Joint Improvement Team, Jerry Powers, in his title, he can't stand it either. So at least it's not in any of our titles, which is a good point to start. So co-production is about public services, professionals and citizens making better use of each other's assets, resources and contributions to achieve better outcomes or improved efficiency. What people with dementia in Eastern Bartonshire told us is, no it's not, it's about being present, and they've asked us not to use the word, and instead they want us to talk about presence. So they want the word to sum up the philosophy and the vision. So number one is about people with dementia being present at meetings, nothing about us without us. People with dementia being present in public life. It's dispelling the myth that people with dementia cannot engage in current discussions because they live in the past. They're only a shell, the person is gone. So very powerfully with that one word, they're challenging a lot of the stereotypes that might stop them from being engaged and present in the first place. So it's very, very clever and very powerful. And that's some of our images of people with dementia telling it as it is and challenging a lot of the myths that some of the professionals had about best way forward. Importantly, co-production is not partnership working, it's not person-centred working. Those things are component elements of co-production, but it's something entirely different. It's about people who have dementia being active contributors, and often people with dementia can be considered engaged where they're passive. And one of the examples that someone gave us was finding out what someone with dementia is interested in, and then trying to engage that person in those interests within their local community. And co-production is about asking the person what they can do in order to bring those interests to life. So it's a difference between attending a football memories group and starting a football memories group, or looking at ways in which you can bring something new to a football memories agenda. So it's something entirely different. So it's about collaboration, and it's about achieving outcomes and entering into negotiation where those outcomes are not the outcomes that are directed by national bodies or local organisations. So competition and negotiation is a big part of co-production. So we're tackling that by working with the Joint Improvement Team to develop a toolkit. And that toolkit has 3 strands. One, we have a positive personal relationship strand, which is about redefining personal relationships in households as co-producing relationships. 2, our local communities, how do they reorganise? How do they go about their business differently in order to facilitate what people with dementia need for culture change? And that really is the essence of present. And the third one is about co-production at an organisational level. How do commissioners, people involved in planning and commissioning, town planners, how do they meet the requirements of the EU and the bureaucratic structures that hang around how decisions are made? How do they work within those parameters in order to deliver a new way of working. So simply put, it starts with asking, what can you do? It's about capabilities, and often when we talk about capabilities and assets, people think you're talking about a new way of working with a person who has dementia or a family. And instead, we're asking everyone that. So what can you do was aimed at me. So what could I do in my current job? What could I change in order to make a move? So I can't sit in my office and say, that's not part of my job, or my job won't allow me to do that. I had really to challenge myself and think about, what can I do? So it's a question, capability assessments apply to all of us, or we don't see any culture shift at all. In terms of this community template for doing things differently, what people told us through a series of co-production cafes, as we called them, were that there were 3 priority areas for change as far as people with dementia in East Dunbartonshire were concerned. They wanted to build caring communities, so they wanted the right kind of support at the right time, and it wasn't really anything that they felt was an offer. They want to have fun, so please give us advice, information, support, help us in a crisis, but can we not have a laugh at the same time? And what's very interesting about that point is it doesn't feature in any health plans, local strategic documents, so there we go, there was a major item. And the third, yeah, and the third is about, I think the things that you'll find about tomorrow, about increasing mobility and connectivity. So right away when that came up, people thought it was about hospital transport, hospital visiting. Then was it about, dementia-friendly trains, dementia-friendly buses? And in fact, it wasn't. The number one thing was better access to bicycles for people with dementia through the cycle co-op. And I think that's just a really great example about how co-production just gives you something right out of the blue that isn't what anybody else would have considered a priority. That of course gave lots of other people a headache, but that's what co-production is all about. So we have multiple projects under each of those headings, and the report details what they are. I've just put a couple here. One of the big projects under caring communities is we have undertaken a feasibility study to set up a time bank. And time banking is really personal assets in action. So I will contribute skills and time that I have into a communal bank. If someone needs those skills, I will give them 2 hours of my time, and I can then get 2 hours back from the bank, but from whomever. It's not a one-on-one arrangement, it's a community arrangement. And lots of areas have time banks, but I'm unaware of any area that has a time bank that people with dementia contribute to. Usually they're recipients. So we have a feasibility study that has delivered 3 different models that might work. So that's quite a big example of one of the things we're doing under building caring communities. Telecare and telehealth, we've been asked to redefine that as life-enhancing technologies, so that it also includes social media. So there's a spectrum. So any technology that is life-enhancing is included under that project around mobility and connectivity, as well as all the very practical things like the cycle co-op option. And the having fun together includes lots of things. We have a very well-established music network now, working with Playlists for Life. And just an interesting spin on that is it's care homes that have started that, and it was rolled out from care homes out into the community, and now members of the community are joining. We have church congregations who are joining. So this is about everybody who has dementia, wherever they reside, and people with care homes are very, very seldom the people who are initiating something exciting in an area or neighbourhood. We have an assets map where people can share with others things that keep them feeling happy, healthy and well every day. And that can be a physical resource, or it can be something they access within the community that other people might not think of. And that's available anyone can access it on the website there, on the link, if you want to see how we do that. How we went about that work is the middle section of our toolkit, and it's the interim report is there, as I said. The first stage of the work, in terms of capability assessments, is a whole process that can sit on top of more traditional assessments, where we're asking professionals to redefine what they think they see when they visit people in their own homes. So is it a need, or is it something more complex, part of a fine balance within a household? Can you recognise what that is, and can you recognise how dementia impacts on the person's ability to keep up their end of the bargain regularly, if you like? And how can professionals then go about rebalancing that with personal, neighbourhood and community options instead of more traditional, very quick responses like accessing a home help? And that will be in the toolkit. These are just some of the comments people have said to us, and I think that one's very interesting, the first one about promoting continuity. It's got some parallels with Dementia Time, but it's slightly different. So basically what people have said is promoting continuity is the same as disabled access for people who have dementia. So in the same way that you wouldn't hold an event for the broad public without ensuring there was actual physical accessibility to the building, what people with dementia said to us is, we can come along, but we need information beforehand, we need support depending on how we feel to engage, and then when you meet us again, you can't assume that we can pick up where we left off. You have to build in a continuity framework for us to keep us engaged. So I think it's got quite a lot of parallels from what yourself and Henry were saying. And again, don't tell me what I can't do, ask me what I can, very strong. Keep talking to us even when we don't respond or seem to hear. And that was about people making assumptions about a gentleman that he was too demented, was what was said, too demented to engage. He's lost the ability to interact now. Well, he wasn't able to interact for quite a long period, but he did eventually, and what he said, which was very powerful, was, I used the voices of my family as a rope to climb out of the well that I was in. So, I mean, just think that's such a powerful sentiment. And somebody also said to me about the word present. It doesn't matter what you couldn't do yesterday. Every day is a new opportunity. Dementia changes. Don't make any assumptions about me. And they really put present then within a recovery model almost. Is it someone who had recovered from an alcohol issue? And he said, that's exactly what this says to me about how I move forward. So, to conclude, we are doing a lot of work with people, getting feedback, very detailed feedback from people with dementia locally. We're using talking mats and a variety of other schemes in order to really get to the heart of how people think we're progressing and continually get feedback about our community cafes, our co-production cafes, and the framework that we have for taking this forward. We've also been evaluated by Ready for Business Scotland, who are the Scottish Government sponsored team looking at how efficiently public services are using their community assets. So in particular, they were very interested in how we are using the third sector. That was their specific interest area. And we're also participating in a business school at the Edinburgh University, who are doing a European Union study, working across several countries, looking at innovation in the public sector and how sustainable it is. So they hope to give us some feedback as to whether this is just something we've been able to do in Eastern Bartonshire because of the networks that we have, or whether that people could pick up a model like this and use it in different areas with a different makeup. So thanks very much.